another episode of the Why Different podcast. This is episode 3, part 2 in our discussion with multimodal artist and photographer Nedim Nazerali. You can catch the first episode on our Spotify page. The link is in the show notes. It's worth listening to that before if you haven't already. Otherwise, we're rejoining the conversation after a discussion about collaboration in the photography industry. And now Ned goes on to discuss sensitivity. This is a wide-reaching conversation where we actually dig quite deep. So if you want to hear two grown men talking about their feelings, then listen in. We also listen to 3 of Ned's chosen tracks that tell us a bit about his story and how his mind works. And true to Ned's taste, they are wicked. Enjoy. You mentioned before that you can be quite sensitive. How does that affect your ability to work with people, if ever, in terms of clients and colleagues and collaborators? Are there good elements about that sensitivity, maybe some empathy, and are there bits that are more challenging?
I think the beginning of my career, there were parts that were very challenging. I've had moments when I've had creative control over something, but then we brought someone in because I need support with certain things. I can't do everything myself. Let's say co-directors, stuff like that. And I've had challenging moments where co-directors are trying to make it their baby. A bit more of a clearer experience is like sometimes when you have a really good idea, someone's got a tune or an album and you're creating artwork for it, and you've got a really good idea, right, that really resonates with your art and is that soul feeding art. If I produce that, that's going to feed my soul. That's really me. But then it's not them. They don't like the idea or they don't get it. That brings me a bit of a downer. But then that's when I have to realize that line between something that is a creative work and a job. I've been told, someone gave me advice one day, give them what they want. Because I've become frustrated in certain situations working with fashion brands, organizations. There's a particular organization I went in every month to film the CEO talking about how they're doing in this brand organization, from sales to pieces they've been selling. And I remember when I first went to the offices, beautiful offices, and the 2 ladies that I was meeting, they wanted to show me around and talk to me about the job and everything like that. I got very frustrated at one point because I'm coming there with my expertise. I know what will look good and how we can shoot something, considering where lighting is coming from and stuff like that.
And what was the job specifically that they were doing? They wanted you to shoot sort of,
every month shooting a little video for all the people that worked in the company around the world. A video of the CEO talking to the camera with a setup of clothing and stuff like that. What was hot this month? What did well? Like an update for in-house.
Right. And was this to just let people know about how the company was doing, or was it to give them inspiration or direction?
A bit of both.
Okay.
A bit of both, but more so how the updates for everyone.
Okay.
So everyone in the organization can look on their phone in their app and be like, okay, here's a video of the CEO talking, a bit of an update about the month.
Cool. And you were filming?
Yes, and we were filming, taking out films that. So when I had to go in the first day and they were showing me the different rooms that we could potentially shoot in. You know, you've got the basement room, you've got an office room with beautiful glass walls. They are a creative company. They said they didn't want anything corporate. And they were showing me these rooms, but I was just thinking they haven't really thought about this much. Like, they want me to make something look professional, but you're showing me a room which you could potentially shoot in. And it's got all of these kind of those cage things they put on the wall so they can pin things up and hang clothes on and stuff like that. It looks horrible. It looks like you're in a rabbit's cage.
But not in an edgy way.
Not in an edgy way. Okay. You've got the rest of the building so contemporary. They've rebuilt it. It's a swirling staircase, which is like something from the Tate Modern. And we're not using that. And then there's like an office room, beautiful glass walls. I wouldn't say it looks corporate, but you're looking through into the main area of the building through the glass, and I think this would work because, again, this is a CEO. It still has to have a sense of professionalism. The CEO is wearing a suit. This fits in. It's contemporary. It's modern. Yeah, it's not corporate, like a big table in front of him and all that kind of stuff. And I remembered saying it would be great to shoot him against this window wall because you've got the movement of the organization in the background. And then she was always butting and saying, oh, but doubting.
She being?
Oh, so the lady that was showing me around, one of the workers that...
What was her job?
She was the one that was in control, the director of that department, who had to produce these videos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
So when she showed me this room, so I said to her, "Oh, we could potentially shoot this CEO here. This is a great location. We've got a beautiful window here. We see the rest of the office. It doesn't feel officey." But she was very anxious and worried, and she was telling me, "Oh, but what about the reflection there and the reflection there?" And that really got to me, and it shouldn't have got to me, because what does she know? She's right. Reflection can get in the way, but if I light things a certain way, that's not a problem.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Obviously she didn't know that.
So she hadn't taken into account that you were just pointing out a good location.
Yeah. I got the job before I even came in. Now it was just for me to have a look at the location. So she's obviously seen my work. She trusts in my eye and stuff like that. And I feel like that sense of trust is needed.
Right.
And I got very frustrated and sensitive. And then she showed me the room downstairs, which wasn't good. And you want something contemporary and modern and not corporate, but you show me this room. Doesn't make sense. So it didn't really seem like they knew what they wanted.
Right.
I realized afterwards that they had a previous person doing this job and they messed the job up. The quality wasn't the quality they wanted. So she was being extra paranoid about it. But I'm so used to in a creative industry, you talk about these things. She was coming from a corporate angle. And I find in the industry, a lot of people don't know what they want, but they try and come across as they know what they want, because they don't want to look like they don't know their shit.
Yeah, insecurity, right?
And I'm happy to take control of things. This is what's going to work. This is what's right. This is what's going to look good. Done. It's harder when people don't know what they want, because they worry about this, or what about that, and worry about this, and worry about that. Yeah. So I get really sensitive about that kind of stuff.
And so that kind of upsets you. What part of that upsets you?
Upsets me that they're not maybe listening to me. I'm saying, look, this would work here because of this, that, and that. And they're not listening to the logic behind it and the creativity behind it. I'm hitting all the objectives that you wanted, and I'm pointing them out, saying, this is why this room would be good, because it's hitting your objective of this, that, that. Oh yeah, but what about that reflection? It's just like anxiety.
Yeah. And you mentioned that this was something that earlier in your career, and by that I'm taking that you mean when you were younger as well, that there was more of a problem. Have you overcome that issue, and how have you
I think my communication, again, I cannot look and blame at other people for things. I always have to look, what can I do to manipulate that environment in my own way so they can understand me a bit more and where I'm coming from. So what I mean by that is, for example, if a co-director suggests an idea, we can shoot maybe something like this. If straight away I know I don't like it, or I know that this is going to create problems in the future, instead of me being like, no, that just won't work, or get frustrated, I'll say, I really like the idea. So make them feel like, okay, you put in something, and I'm saying to you, I really like the idea, so they're not feeling put down.
Yeah.
And then saying, but I don't feel it would work, because if we shoot this like this, then in the edit cut, it will not flow with that next scene.
Yeah, it doesn't fit in with the rest of the picture, but it's, I think that the way you've articulated it.
So not to shut someone down straight away.
Yeah, you lead with the positive. We learn so much that communication is such an important skill, and one of the most important things is to be easy to work with, and that will give you success in and of itself. Communication is one of the things that I think comes least naturally, or not as easily as it perhaps once did.
Yeah. And what is it? Is it fear of being judged? Is it fear of being... That's another thing. I feel what I explained to you now about communicating, I'd like to be in control, and if I've got an idea and a vision, I want to do it. So I'm very much, if someone suggests this and I feel like, oh, that looks going to look cheesy, I get pissed off. I'm like, no.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about inflexible thinking or black-white thinking. People with ADHD experience
black and white. It's either my way or the highway.
And why do you think that is? Because I think a lot of people, when you filter it down, realize that it's hypersensitivity and perhaps misconstruing somebody's difference in opinion for disapproval of your idea or you, right? Which of course is not going to make anyone feel good, and it's going to, cause your defense system to start alarming, and then you to amount of response. To
You've
kind
had
of
that. Have you
defend
had that
yourself.
feeling before when you've really planned for a meeting or whatever, and you've worked so hard on it, and then you finally put out the idea, and then they're like not really keen on it?
Oh yeah, I've had it
that
worse.
feeling. I like to be in control. If I've got a vision, I want to thing it, because if I've got a vision, that's something from somewhere pure. That's coming from me. I believe it's about getting them to understand it in a certain way, to dissecting it in the right way for them to understand it, instead of saying this is what's going to work. Why?
Yeah.
I had a problem about people questioning me about it because I was so passionate about this idea and whatever, and I know it would work. When people question is, oh, hang on a sec. And it just varies in different contexts. When a client doesn't know what he wants, or he's not there yet, you can't even get angry at it because he doesn't know what he wants. Whatever you put to them.
How do you handle those situations now?
There's been a recent one where someone started a business in the creative industry and they're not there yet. So when they approached me before and wanted me to get involved in something, I felt like I couldn't do anything for them until they were more ready and prepared. Because people can just say things. I can give you 5 great business ideas right now and it'd be fucking amazing. Yeah. But that's just words. Yeah. I need to see that you're doing this and you're ready for it. And then I can seriously talk to you about the details of what could work and what I would suggest the direction to go in the visual ideas and stuff like that. But how I would deal with it now is, listen, okay, again, it depends. If it's the job and they just need me to film something, whatever, and I need to give them what they want and they're very sure about what they want, great. If they're not sure and I don't feel they're ready, I'll be like, listen, I think you need to work on this, that, and that first, and then maybe contact me in a couple of weeks, see how you're getting on. And when you're more ready and you've sorted all that other stuff out, then let's talk about this stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it, because it shows respect for their excitement that they have and that they are serious and they do want to try and take this further.
And I always say, if there's anything that you want, if there's anything in the meantime you've got questions about or want to talk about or ideas, drop me a message. Yeah. And I'll let you know my opinion.
Yeah. As long as you can communicate effectively and with respect for them and the effort that they've almost certainly put in, that's invisible to everyone except themselves, I think that the outcome is always good. And I think that's a good.
I do get pissed off though, because there's people that do this and they're like, yes, it's saying all this and this is what you want to do and this is what you're going to do, but I do get pissed off with people because it's, what was it?
I think I know what you're going to say. When people, they have an idea and they want to tell you about it, but they actually don't have any real intention of putting in the work that's needed to progress it. And it actually then becomes a bit of a waste of your time.
There is that, definitely. There is that. And there's also, you're doing this and you're going to be doing this and this idea, but I'm not here to give you all the ideas. Figure your side out first, and I'll figure out where I can fit in and how I can get involved. And a lot of people are bullshitters. So I'm very specific who I deal with and how much energy I give. How much energy I do give. I give a little bit and then have my boundaries.
Right. Your most recent work has been blending photography with fine art and body painting.
Yeah.
What was your journey like into that, and how did you end up there from shooting
portraits and stuff,
portraits and
commercial work,
Rita Ora and
so I think.
And what was that like actually?
What?
Shooting Rita Ora, because it was earlier on in her career.
Yeah, it was just, I think when she was 19, she just got signed by Rock Nation. I met her through a friend, and
Rock Nation's Jay-Z's.
Right, yeah,
Jay-Z's
yeah. And during the time while she was creating an album, her management wanted to create noise around her, activity, content, stuff like that. So they were shooting Rita Ora Diaries, and I was part of those episodes where I was shooting her.
What was Rita Ora's Diaries?
It was her talking about her day-to-day, what she's doing, going to the studio today, doing this and creating this song, met this artist and was working with them. So it's like a daily diaries for 2 weeks or something like that. Okay. And so I did a shoot for that diary. Today I was shooting with Ned, this great photographer. And then from there, I think the management wanted me to get portraits of her, different outfits, different scenes, which would have been used as content and visuals leading up to promote her album. So magazine articles, stuff like that, to help promote her. And so that's the kind of work I did with her. Yeah.
And obviously it's become a huge star.
Yeah. That was my first main gig in music photography. Because I was shooting portraits, and then because shooting her was like, she had a stylist. It was very fashiony as well. It was like image. It worked. But then after that, I fell in the music industry more. I think someone phoned me up, a producer who's ex Michael Jackson management. He was working with a group called the Swingle Singers. They were a 50-year-old group, originally a cappella. Every few years they change singers. So this was, it's not like 90-year-old men singing a cappella. But I was contacted by a producer who was managing and producing their 50th anniversary album, and needed a photographer for album artwork and promotional shots. And every year or so I'm shooting all of their new work, their portraits and their group portraits for their year ahead.
So it sounds like quite different gigs.
Yeah.
Were they quite prescriptive in what they wanted and how you would design and conduct the shoots?
Somewhere, but then a lot of it was, this is what I liked about the music industry, I had a lot more creative control. Right. I was, okay, let me hear this people's music. Okay, I think they would work being set in a big cathedral or abandoned swimming pool. Do you know what I mean? It would really work with the title of the music songs and the kind of sound and vibe. This would be a great location to shoot. So I'd have the input. Swimming pool. Yeah, and we actually shot in an abandoned swimming pool.
What
a Victorian old swimming pool.
What made you think? I've never even conceptualized an abandoned swimming pool.
I don't know at the time, but I think that firstly, there's a group of 7. To shoot 7 people in this white background studio is hell. You want to shoot someone in a big space. But I was just looking at just interesting locations, and I think at the time things like abandoned places and stripped walls were really nice because it added a sense of artistry to it. When you've got stripped walls, you've got all these different colors, and for me it was just visual. But it actually worked out to be a really good idea. Firstly, we found this, I think in Birmingham or somewhere, I found this Victorian swimming pool. I was looking for locations of abandoned places. Saw this old abandoned Victorian pool. One was in use, one was completely empty and dry. I phoned them up and I said, look, we're interested in shooting some portraits here of a music group. And they were like, this place, literally, you can catch diseases from working here.
Wow.
Like being in here. Like, we haven't looked after it. It's dangerous. Health and safety is not going to happen. I phoned the producer and I said, look, I had a whole mood board about why it would work in here. It connects with emotion. It connects with water. It connects with the past drying up. And now you're into the new. This is the 50th anniversary that the producer worked on. Suddenly, coming from an a cappella group to suddenly a full orchestra sound. I'm talking about kind of for movie scripts and stuff like that. And so this group was having a completely new transformation. So my whole idea about shooting in an abandoned empty swimming pool was that they were leaving the past behind them. Do you know what I mean? It was their beginning. And they liked it and stuff like that. I said to Hugo, look, there's this place and I think it would really work. There's lots of space. There's so many different areas of the pool, like from where the big machines were, which was like pumping the pool, to the actual pool itself, to other areas of it. We can do so many different looks here and get a nice variety of shots. The producer did his magic, which is so good at it. British guy, English guy, grew up in Kensington, married with someone in New York, so lives halfway New York and thing, but he's got that, he just knows how to talk, innit? And he spoke to them and he managed to get us the pool.
And what did you
with
do
all
about
the health and safety
safety
issues? He said we'll help support, regenerate and rebuild this place if we can help in some sort of way. But this is what producers do, these things. They're good at doing these things and getting things. So he spoke to me, we got it, and that was like my first album cover shoot, I think. And I'm talking about this Victorian empty pool. Above on one side, there are balconies for each of the guys to stand in, and that was the album cover. And what's funny is at the end you got the original sign and it says Deep End. Got, on the other side you got this big speedo clock. Do you remember the big speedo clocks?
Yeah, Cocktail Pool.
Oh man, it was like it was that novelties were there, amazing. So you know that Deep End.
Yeah.
They ended up that being the name of the album, Deep End.
Oh no way.
And it just worked out so great. That was a prime example of a collaboration where I put in these ideas, and this is the reason why water drying up, it signifies renewal. I'm looking at symbolism. I'm looking at all these things to support the fact that I just want to shoot in this cool fucking location. Yeah. And it made sense. Brilliant, man. It was a really great experience.
That's a crazy story. And it's It speaks to the two stories that you just described, where you have one instance where you have your creative ideas and you've thought a lot about it and put together a mood board, and you've then presented it to them with a potential problem, but they bought into your idea and your vision so much that they've made it happen. They made it happen. You've had a very fruitful outcome from that, which has creatively inspired both of you. Compared to an instance before where you didn't really have that buy-in, and it meant that perhaps you weren't so invested in it, and maybe it stifled at least your enjoyment of the experience, and maybe your creativity in that. So it does show that you got to choose your collaborations. And, you know, it won't always be possible.
And my collaborations have always been those kind of like individuals or musicians or groups where they're telling a story. There's something very pure about their music. And discovering the Swingles, I never heard of Swingles in my life. The Swingle singers, very well known in maybe the jazz and classical field, very famous in their area, and I just didn't know them. So to open my mind up and to hear this type of music again, it's growth from there, man. Like connecting with people with different sound. Again, that kind of really influenced the way I listen to music and helped me grow from the type of music that I used to listen to. It's like the next step of maturity and really understanding sound and how something takes you in a narrative. So always meeting someone new and working with a new musician, you learn something from it. It's like there's always a connection there with, I experienced that feeling or understand what that means. And so,
And you've exhibited in those very prestigious places, the Royal Academy of Art.
Some, not enough. Like I haven't done too many personal exhibitions. I never focused on my most career in the fashion music industry. Actually, be just doing work for clients. Really, not my personal work.
And is it right that you've, in recent years, started doing work that
my artwork
meets your creative needs, right? And so, as well as being the RA, being in the OXO and in Harrods windows, you've now started focusing a bit more on the connection that you can get with your artist. And how has your experience different now to what it was in the past? And how has it been deliberate that you've taken this path?
Working in the music industry, I realized that I have a better, deeper, more meaningful connection with the subjects I'm shooting. I'm not just shooting them, I'm discovering who they are, I'm discovering their music. Their music is their art, that's their soul, that's who they are. And so I was able to create a better connection with them, to understand them, understand their message, who they were, what their identity was, and translate that into visuals. So already comparing it to the fashion industry, where if you had a campaign or lookbook shoot, I don't think I went far enough for me to experience the full fashion industry. I think I just wasn't too interested in it. The chaos around it, the type of people you meet, it didn't make me feel secure and stable. It felt like just a job. And maybe if I stuck to it and thinged it, it would have been different. But I fell naturally into the music industry, and I saw the comparisons of the creative control I had. And that's when I started to produce my body paint art. Because now it wasn't just about shooting the identity of someone, their shell and their look. It is with some, but also I worked with some artists where their narrative, their music, their poetry was so deep and meaningful in their personal journey and in life that I really connected to it. And right then I'm connecting with more than just a physical person. I'm connecting with an energy, a soul. And so I had an idea where I really want to capture the soul of this person. There's a musician called Ren who I worked with, same producers as Swingles. He was working with this artist, and they had a big project, immersive live show concert, and they wanted me to produce film for the show that was being projected and behind her on stage, whilst her character on stage and on screen kind of swap over. It was all about a person having two identities and which one to follow. A bit like when we talk about our minds, one going one way, one going the other way. We all have this. We all have different personalities within us. Do you know what I mean? And aspects of us. Like you can be a warrior and you be a peaceful meditator. I believe that you can be both. And if you're spiritual, it doesn't mean you can't be a warrior and have that passion and aggression. So this is what her story was about. And I felt like her voice is so pure, and the music that she creates and the songs that she sings and writes are so meaningful to just life and her journey that I really wanted to capture the essence of her soul. it was almost like voices coming out of her soul, her spirit. It wasn't her physical. The first thing for me to do was I want to strip her social identity.
How do you mean?
So, for example, a social identity of the way someone dresses, or if someone's got glasses, that's what we identify you as. This person identifies, he's got glasses, he's this color skin, this is their social identity. This is how we identify people on the outside. I wanted to strip that, take that away, so no one can judge the person or judge the subjects by that, but more so of a feeling of who this person really is as a soul. I always called her Alien Ren because it felt like she's from a different planet. Do you know what I mean? You know, you and me were talking about how we can conversate with people and musicians and creative people in a way that maybe other people would understand, but you just get each other because of through feeling.
Yeah,
that's her. Like me and her. So we connected in that way. And so I had this idea. I literally just wanted to make her look like an alien, a different being, a beam of light or whatever it was. So I created an idea. The idea was to create designs on her face and her body that represented elements: earth, water, air, and fire. All of these elements is what creates a being. Without each one of those, we would not be living. Without air, we would not be here. Without water, we would not be here. Without these things. So it was like connecting with nature to create this new being. And I remember the producer didn't like the idea because I didn't present it in a good way. I was dropping things like, I see her as an alien. It's like, no one gets that. He was like, no, this is not going to happen like that. And do you know what Ren's the artist said? That's so me.
Yeah.
That is me. Let's do it. That's who I am.
What's so good about that is that it
I
shows...
connected with her
exactly.
soul.
Yeah.
I connected energetically with this person.
It is about communication, and we often think that just means the traditional form of spoken language, and that's the only way that you can communicate ideas. But I don't think that's the truth at all. What you've described is how you feel like you've understood her. She's communicated information to you about who she is that you've been able to understand, and then you've designed a piece that's going to exhibit that part of her in a way that it's never been exhibited
the pureness
before.
Of her, in a visual play, in a visual way.
It's interesting because it takes her coming out and saying that is actually me to her producer, who you might assume has known her for longer and maybe knows her better than you do. It takes her coming out and saying that for him to be able to understand the language that you have both exchanged without words.
There's something there. And I'm sorry, if an artist wants to do something, you do it. And I realized that from doing that kind of work with someone, you're really connecting in a different way. Like, I feel like doing my body painting, I've noticed with my subjects, it's really helped them shed their skin and release things that they're holding on to. It's almost been a kind of a spiritually healing kind of practice.
Which part of it?
The whole thing in terms of transforming someone into a completely different avatar, into their soul being. I've allowed people to see who they really are in the essence. And it's almost like purified them, and they've let go of a lot of things. And I've had out-of-body experiences doing it. I've had out-of-body experiences painting, getting a sponge with paint, doing someone's knee. Then I'm back to earth again, and I don't know how much time has gone past. We're connecting in a different dimension. We're connecting not on the physical realm, the three-dimensional realm. We're connecting through energy and soul. And that is healing, because you start to realize there's more than us than just this. There's more than us than this physical. We are emotional beings. We are creative, and it allowed me to realize that our possibilities are limitless. Just like how I can transform someone into a completely different being and a vibe, you're now a limitless being. You're not George with the glasses and that Puma t-shirt. You're now just like your skin, bone, and a complete transformed thing. And then taking those shots and seeing yourself in a different way just turns you into something more than a physical person. It takes you into something more empowering and higher up. And I've always said that I'm capturing people's higher selves. That Ren shot, which was used for her album cover, which was used for the promotion of her tour, billboards, I named that piece Higher, because I was capturing her higher self. And her story and her journey and her album was all about her following her true self. Whereas you had this other side that said you can't do it, but if you follow your higher self, which is hard to focus on that, you'll get to where you want to get to. It's weird because it all just ends up happening.
I think it's an interesting sort of metaphor for how you're never really your truest self when you're presenting yourself the way others want you to be seen. It sounds to me like perhaps it was an opportunity for your subjects to shed those identities that come from other people, and then almost be painted in an identity that more resonates with who they feel they are. I can imagine that can be
and it
liberating.
works with artists. Seem to like love being body painted. They want to like strip and freaking get painted because, you know, it's arty, it's artistic, it's poetry in a visual sense. It connects with them. I feel like musicians, when they're writing music, they're visualizing as well. They're visualizing and they're feeling. So the next step is to put those visuals in place. I think artists are very visually connected, so it's very easy to work with them. Do you know what I mean? It's probably even harder to work with people that just want to have in their music video a nice car and everything that just looks good, but there's no depth and meaning behind it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I'm more so of working with artists that is authentic,
right,
rather than so commercial in a sense. I'm good at making the artist stuff looking commercial. Do you know what I mean? I've been told like a lot of my art does look commercial, which is great. I love that. The fact that it can have so much depth but be commercial, it works in both. It's marketable. I always worry about having something too arty in my own dimension, in my own world, that no one's going to get it.
Yeah, they can't relate. I guess that's one of the things about different artists. It depends quite a lot on what they want to get out of their art. I know because I'm interested in lyrics and rap, so I know that there are some concepts that people will never get from most of the songs that they listen to. Say Kendrick Lamar, Damn. If you listen to Dissect, it's a podcast series by Cole Kushner where he tears apart the construction of a lot of the best songs, or
who does
most well-known songs. The host called Cole Kushner, and he did Frank Ocean. He did a couple of his albums at the start. He's done loads.
I need to see the Frank Ocean one. Was that good? But were they dissecting
unbelievable
his songs?
You wouldn't.
But in a good way or bad way? He always goes and looks at the good things.
He talks about all of the elements that go into the song, what the meanings are, what the references are.
And are they his perspective, or are they
both? So he's obviously done a lot of research and he's very trained in this. But then also, I imagine he reaches out to the artists in some sense and maybe gets some information. I don't know that for sure, so I don't want to put words in his mouth. But anyhow, it's like very thoroughly researched. And if you listen to the Pyramids episode.
Oh, really?
The story behind that, it's like a...
I think I was quite disappointed by what that song really meant.
What was your impression of what it meant?
Because after I saw the music video, I think the music video ruined it for me.
Oh, what was your interpretation of what it meant?
I thought it was clever.
Yeah. It
was definitely clever, but I think what threw me off is the strippers and... But then I like the way their faces warped in the video. But also, when you've got something like pyramids in there, I'm looking for something deep. But I loved the reference he used, like from Cleopatra and the snake and stuff that into the modern day life experiences.
Have a listen to that episode. It's so much deeper than.
Really? Do you think that was intentional by Frank Ocean?
Oh mate, I won't be able to make sense of it to you because the story's so much deeper than that and what it's actually talking about.
Yeah,
and it's amazing.
Really,
it's amazing.
Okay, I'll check. You've got to send me the link.
Yeah, and I'll share it because I can't remember the whole narrative, but it talk about the women who are left behind by society and having an opportunity to become like the queens or presented as the queens, as Cleopatra. So that's like more of a power from the stripper, etc., into
But this is a guy talking about it. Is that controversial?
Potentially. Have a listen, and then we can have that discussion. But yeah, it's amazing, and I think without listening to those deconstructions, those people will never understand their work. I think I'm someone who tries to listen to lyrics a lot, and so much of that was over my head.
And it's fine not to understand it.
It is, yeah.
Do you know what? I believe that whatever art you're producing and you're putting out there, as long as you like it, that's the most important thing.
100%.
If you like it, don't worry about what other people like, because it's you. It's you showing who you are to the world, in a sense. It's you giving something back to the world, and that's part of the puzzle of a whole collective. I feel like what you're doing is something that you're doing. If you waited 5 years to do it, someone else might have been doing what you're doing. Something in there needs to fit, and that's your contribution to the world, consciously. Do you know what I mean? I've had experiences in the past where I've had ideas and I've taken too long to do it. I see someone else doing it. I think, shit, I was out there. But that wasn't meant for me to do. That wasn't meant for me to do. But it was meant to be in our world, but not for me to do that one. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I feel like really finding your authenticity and what you want to produce in your feelings, people are going to understand it because we're all one. what you talk about is going to resonate with someone. It fits a picture. It fits their understanding. It will fit someone's.
Sure. Now, we're going to go on to the part of the show where we look into 3 songs.
Okay, yeah.
3 songs.
Good songs.
3 songs that tell us a bit about you, your perspectives on life or art, or they have a significant meaning. What are your 3 songs?
So the first song is I Got There by Labi Siffre. This guy was the guy I only discovered a couple of months ago, but we've been hearing his music since we were born, George. Like, he was a guy that sang Something Inside So Strong and Bless the Telephone or Thank the Telephone or something like that. And so many songs, like legendary epic songs that I still hear now in adverts. And when I heard this song, I Got There, I was like super surprised by it because it was the same tune as...
We're going to play it a bit. When you showed it to me, my reaction was...
Yeah. The lyrics are just amazing.
So tell us why you've chosen this song.
So I chose this song because in all music, I love something that's upbeat. And I like the contrast between something being upbeat, making you feel good, but the lyrics are so honest, talking about how he's got the blues. And it's like you would think, with someone talking about they're low or got the blues, you would think that it's going to have kind of more of a sad, vibe. So I like the fact that it was honest, and also it reminded me of when you're having the blues, you're feeling a bit low vibrational, I'm going to say, because feeling low sounds like you're depressed and whatever. I feel like maybe lack of energy. And whoever he's talking about and saying that you make me feel fine, I use that as you, as in yourself. So whenever I listen to this song, it reminds me of how I make myself feel. Do you know what I mean? So when there's a lyric, I got the blues, I don't mind, all I have to do is get to you and I feel just fine. Obviously, if I'm feeling this kind of state of mind, that's not the real me. So it's like when I get to you, I feel just fine. So for me, I'm feeling like, okay, sometimes I feel like Lily. I should think of how grateful I am to have these people around me, and but also my heart, it heals my heart a bit. And just the honest lyrics, I'm on a downer. It makes you feel like you're not alone at times. And also, you're so good the way you give. I'm a person that gives a lot. And sometimes that can be my downfall because I can give and then I feel a bit empty. But here it reminds me there's a positive there. It's like you're giving and that's a good thing. Don't stop giving. Do you know what I mean? So it makes me feel good. A song that could have been a really depressing song is actually, it's got a vibe. It's like embracing your lows, embracing your ups and downs, because that's normal and there's nothing wrong with it.
That's a dope message. That juxtaposition between quite a sad message but quite uplifting, almost like the train exiting a tunnel. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's cool. And then, of course, what you may not know until you've listened to 2 minutes is just amazing. It's so good. So good.
Inventor. Have you listened to it before?
I have never heard this, and I love who sampled and listening back and finding out what the originals were. And first of all, like, how has they've just decided to put that break in there and switch it up to that incredible bit is wild in and of itself. How they make it work, and then of course Dre chops it up. Actually, Dre didn't really touch it very much, for Eminem's debut single, My Name Is, which was such a huge moment in time in kind of pop.
It's like, here I am, take it or leave it.
Absolutely.
This is me.
Yeah, what an entrance.
Hate me or love me.
What an entrance.
And that was so him.
And what a sample. Yeah, and although they didn't change up very much of the actual arrangement, the subject matter was completely different.
And I love the narrative in this. So the first half, when he's talking about, I'm in the blues and I'm feeling like I imagine like in the morning and you're feeling blues, you're having a coffee and a fag and you're feeling you're not feeling energetic as you want it to be to continue with your day and whatever. And then the second part, he says, when I think of me, it's hard to be a person quite so sad. And which is so empowering. And then the second part of the song, it was almost like this is the answer to why I was feeling like this in the past. So he talks about just a lonely soul, I was slowly dying. I was smiling hard, but I was lying. And it makes you feel like to survive life, you put on that face, your painted smile. There's even a song called The Painted Smile. But you're not being you. And when you're not being you, it can be depressing. And I find that definitely resonates with me. If I'm not being me and I'm trying to do too much I'm just putting a face over it.
I think it's like an abandonment of yourself, right? You're abandoning how you're really feeling, as if you're maybe ashamed of it, or you don't want to.
And you're too tired of playing another person.
Yeah, nurture yourself through it, and and it's hard exactly to be someone else, especially when you're feeling like that.
And I understand it's a defense mechanism. It's the way to protect yourself and stuff like that. But again, it's just it reassures you that we put on this facade, and we sometimes, and when we're out, when we're in that social environment, yes, these are all parts of us. But sometimes the person you are when you go to your parents' house, and that's you.
Yeah, right.
That's the thing that needs to grow and heal and become what you want it to become. So the second part resonates with me so much.
So that's a really nice first track.
Yeah.
What's your second song?
Second one is a song called Zibonakalise by Msaki. I think it's South African singer. And this song is a bit of me. Do you know what I mean? I connect with it. My dad is from East Africa, so I've got some sort of connection to Africa. And it's very earthy and very connected with land, but also spirit. And I really like this one.
I know that you listen to a lot of African music, not even African inspired music. Yeah.
I grew up. My dad used to have a record of a group called Osabisa, and they were like a West African group that went to New York in the late 60s, early 70s, with the African vibe, with contemporary sound, electric guitar, and what I love about certain types of original African music when they're using the drums is a very common instrument, and things like the drums are really things that awaken me, really like are raw. Do you know what I mean? And I loved it. And this specific song, I resonated with it as well because there's a certain part of the song where it's chant, and the chant plays a prayer to the ancestors, asking for them to rise up, and it's to seek solutions to all that feels unclear. So firstly, that's something that I do when I'm feeling unclear about something or whatever, before I go to bed or in the mornings when I'm doing my prayer or meditation. I connect with my ancestors. I say thank you to my ancestors and forefathers for all what they've done in the past has brought us to where we are today, but also ask for guidance, ask for assistance and clarity on things, strength, all these kind of things. And this is great because there's a part in here where it translates into English where it says show yourself, and there's a chant saying ancestors show yourself, guide me. So I really like that aspect of it. It really brings you back down to earth, and for me the reality of community, but also the support you have through traditional dance. And in Africa, where our families come from, they use things like fires and water and dance and chants to protect themselves. And I think it's such a magical and powerful thing, ritual.
Wow. Amazing. And your third song?
Third song, ESP by NERD.
You got energy, but you ain't gonna use it. You got so much time, but you ain't gonna use it.
I love NERD. NERD is one of my first favourite bands.
Man, you introduced me to NERD.
I didn't know I introduced you to them.
Yeah, it was I was in my final year of medical school, so that
was
must have been 2010. And I came.
So it was in uni that you discovered NERD?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So I remember I was at the North Middlesex Hospital on Payson in Edmonton, living on my own. No, I was living with Derek and Dennis. Shout out to you two. And I remember I came around to yours, and and you put it on for me, and you put on. It must have been Fly or Die, maybe. But that was just the second studio album.
But dude, you knew of Pharrell though.
I knew who they were. Yeah.
Pharrell in terms of like when he did the song with Snoop Dogg.
Of course. And
Kanye West and Jay-Z. I
knew who they were, but I didn't know that I would like NERD's music because it was always the thing. Like it wasn't. No, actually, I knew that I liked a couple of their songs. Like I liked Provider, I liked Lap Dance.
Yeah.
But I had never thought to listen to their albums.
They had the music videos out, like
Exactly.
Exactly. That was out when we were like 17. Because I remember when I was in LA Fitness, I started to go to the gym, 17, 18. That music video was always on the screen.
Oh, wow.
And I remember watching at that time.
Yeah. So yeah, you introduced me to NERD, and what a changing moment that was in my life. Is seeing an unconventional band that spoke to a lot of who I knew I was, but perhaps wasn't at the time old enough to or brave enough to really show that side on the outside.
Yeah.
And so
they spoke out to the people, even though they're cool as fuck. They're cool. They spoke out to those the different creatives, the weird, nerdy cools. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They spoke out to the people that were creative and felt lonely, or creative that felt left out or different to everyone else. That's what they were.
Yeah.
And they are like that.
Absolutely. And ESP is from No One Ever Really Dies. That's their most recent album, 2017. Tell me about this.
So they're talking about the energy there, and it really... I picked this song to represent a bit what my artwork is about. It is all about me creating and producing the things that we do not see, the things in between the lines, not necessarily always physical, but with my artwork, bringing a certain type of energy and connectivity on here with us and in the universe through energy, through vibrations, which connects to science and it connects to the physical matter. When you think about, you can cut the tension with a knife, you're feeling something there. And I think this song represents, there's a part where it says that was what gave the slaves to look in the sea, look in the mirror, look at the reflection in the sea. It was spirit, it was energy, it was something more than us. It was an energy, it was a higher being that empowered them. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, this just talks about energy, vibrations, and how much we've got of it. We can create it from all our elements, earth, water, air, fire, nature. We can just switch energy with the power of our mind. And this definitely shows that. Yeah. NERD ASP explores themes of untapped potential and the importance of harnessing one's energy, time, space, and intellect. The song urges the listeners to use their inherent qualities, such as their energy, light, taste, and extra eye, symbolically representing intuition or insight, rather than allowing them to go to waste. So we've got that little small whisper, an idea that comes to your head, follow that intuition, follow that feeling. The lyric discusses the presence of negative forces that try and manipulate and control individuals. It emphasizes the need to stay true to oneself and not succumb to the pressures of conformity. So find your individuality, your uniqueness, and I love that.
And that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
At all. A lot of barriers that you have to overcome.
We've got the distractions in this world from social media, everything, judgment, politics going on in the news. All these things bring up fear, stress, comparison, and it's nice. I do meditation and things like that to recheck into me, my soul.
Because that's the thing, I think, as humans, one of the things that we're most worried about, and most people who have anxiety about relationships will reference at some stage their concern about their fear of abandonment. And actually I think that us not being true to who we really are leads to that internal tension where we're feeling like we're almost abandoning ourselves, who we truly are, to be able to hide that and present ourselves as someone else. Right?
Feel that pain.
Believe.
I believe we're here on earth to experience pain, jealousy, sadness, all these things that the physical reality gives us, understand it, grow from it, heal and grow from it. And then we'll become that person where I'm not going to get offended when someone says this and that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to get jealous or get annoyed by jealousy or be petty, because this is a feeling I've already come across. And I think it's a lesson to learn that when you experience something, don't take that feeling on, look it up from the outside and understand that this person is feeling this way and is acting this way because they're not in the right mind of frame. They're not in a good place.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with me, their feelings. Someone's feelings have got nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Sure.
So it's about seeing from the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. And showing up for yourself and being your own ally to be able to say, this is who I am and I appreciate who I am and my individuality, and I'm not going to abandon myself by hiding that side of myself and trying to present something else to
And
people.
there's certain people that you can and not to. There's people that you can trust, that you can be yourself with and be sad. And, you know, I can speak to my mum or my brother and say, I'm not feeling good about this, or Lily, I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling sad about this.
Right.
I can't do that with everyone.
Yeah.
I can't do that with everyone. And that's
Absolutely.
also an important thing. And it's fine to be vulnerable. It's so important. But I think to have a avenue and someone you can go to show that side of you is important.
Yeah.
And a blessing if you have one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy thing to do. I think maybe as you get more experiences, we get older, and as the world changes, I hope people are more able to feel free to express who they are with their flaws, because it should be accepted, and it definitely is acceptable.
I think things are going that way. I think there's a lot more awareness, realization, height of consciousness of people. Look, there's that conversations about mental health in the first place. That's the start. And men not being able to express their emotions, because we come from ancestors where it was in the village, maybe the man was doing certain things and the woman would be at home caring for certain things. Traditions and things have grown and changed. We're in a different place now, time of world where technology has grown and everything like that. We're a completely different place. And I think to move along with times is important.
Absolutely.
And realize that we are all beings, that we will have feelings, but keep strong at the same time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Man, what a sick conversation.
Yeah.
It's been, enlightening, fun, nostalgic.
We've dipped into a few other things there. I think definitely
tangents.
from this, we've got the gist of actual neurodiverse as well, because how we talk as well, we've noticed that I can have a 10-minute conversation, talk about 10 subjects.
Right.
Like I can skip.
Tangents,
Do
left,
you know what I
right,
mean? And that's
us.
another aspect of it. Our minds move.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which is a great thing to have.
Yeah. Ned, thank you so much for coming on, being the first guest.
Thanks for having me. Do you know what? We've got to do this again.
Exactly. It's been enlightening to hear about your experiences, dyslexia, other elements of neurodiversity that may not strictly fit in with that specific condition, but I think we all have a spectrum that we
Different
interconnect.
levels of it
Exactly.
as
And
well.
maybe the science isn't advanced enough yet to really tell us more about it, but until that point, we've just got to try and figure it out.
I think the most
ourselves
important thing is accepting who we are, accepting that our minds all work in different ways. No one's going to be like how we are, so don't get disappointed by that. Not everyone is going to understand you. If anything, no one really 100% will understand you. And I think first stage, what I've believed that's worked to help balance me out is doing things like meditation, sitting in that quiet spot with yourself, reconnecting with yourself, speaking with people, and also not being afraid of expressing or producing anything that you desire to create. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's produced shit work in their earlier careers. If it wasn't for that, if we didn't get that out of our system, we wouldn't be producing the stuff now. A lot of people get depressed about having certain things, and yet people do have worse situations. It can really mentally affect people. But just remember that there's nothing wrong with us, and that there's beauty and uniqueness in all of this as well. It's just finding it, and that's the challenge. That's what you need to master.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that we can have guests like you come on who's had such an interesting experience over quite an illustrious career so far. And it's not a linear path. It's got its ups and its downs.
Yeah.
But if you are somebody who doesn't find some specific things interesting or inspiring, like some of the subjects in school, then you can focus on the things that you are interested in and excel in those. And that's probably a better way to do it, I think, for the long term.
Definitely. And we've got more avenues to do that now.
yourself.
We've got social media and things like there's good things about these things. We have got avenues to express ourselves and to connect.
Yeah.
We've got those, and kids have got those as well.
Communicate through the medium that works best for you. Ned, speaking of social media, where can people see your amazing artwork?
So Instagram at Nart, N-A-R-T, and Earth, E-A-R-T-H. And my photography, commercial work, portraiture and film, that's on Instagram at Nedim_Nazerali.
And I'm going to pop that in the show notes as well.
Brilliant. Cheers.
Ned, thank you so
man.
much. And let's
Thanks,
do this
bro.
again soon.
100%. Let's do it.
Amazing.